movie based on the 90s cartoon Captain Planet and the Planeteers has long been in development. And the last we heard about that, it was, being written, the script was being written by this guy named Glenn Powell, and the movie was being produced by Leonardo DiCaprio, and it was going to be, a dark, irreverent take, so the writer said, which is very different from how the cartoon was, which was, kind of a typical Saturday morning cartoon of the era, the 80s, 90s, and the 70s. Those cartoons all kind of usually had a bright, sunny tone, and there'd be a problem and it'd be neatly wrapped up in like 30 minutes or less, unless there was a cliffhanger. But a lot of those cartoons, the plots were simplistic, but they would have great messages a lot of times, like Captain Planet did, about saving the world and being eco-friendly and, not polluting, that sort of thing. But a lot of people think that, they think that a Captain Planet and the Planeteers movie would be a little silly, It would be just, it wouldn't work in movies today, which is why, they did that, which is why I think one of the reasons why the writer Glenn Powell wants to go dark and irreverent with it, because he thinks this is too silly to do. But I actually think that Captain Planet and the Planeteers has the makings of a successful blockbuster. It has a lot of elements there, ingredients, if they get the right, the script right. And I'm going to explain why that is. But first, if you don't know much about Captain Planet and the Planeteers, let me explain what it's about. There is a spirit of the earth named Gaia. She's basically the spirit of the earth who wants the earth to survive and, all the oceans to be, clean, wants people to conserve. And so she finds these 5 teenagers from around the world and she gives them these magic rings. And each ring gives them a power of a certain element. Earth, wind, fire, water, and heart. And heart is basically like mental powers. And so they have these rings that give them these powers. And then when things get too tough for them, they can combine their powers. And with the combined powers of the ring, they summon this guy named Captain Planet, who's basically kind of like Superman in terms of the powers he has. And he has like a green mullet and a blue skin. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people think that might be too silly to work in live action. But the Paramount Pictures, and I think that's the company that's making it, the studio, and the screenwriter Glenn Powell think they can make it work. Let me read some quotes from Glenn Powell about his new darker take. This is from September of 2018, so not that long ago. I think this is the most recent news we have on this project, which has been in development for a long time. There was a previous studio, Sony, that tried to make a Captain Planet movie, but I think those development efforts fell apart. And this is what he says about Sony's efforts. They've tried to make it into a superhero movie before, but they kind of did like an earnest take, and ours is way more subversive and fun and dark and irreverent. And he goes on. Sometimes you just have to think through these things logically. Like if you have a blue superhero with a green mullet, you can't do an earnest take on that. You have to go at it from a fun take, just the way Deadpool has circumnavigated the superhero thing. It has been an interesting process, and it's taken a long time. But now we're getting that up and going, and we're really stoked about it. So what exactly is he stoked about? How is he going to make, a movie about a blue guy with a green mullet work today? Well, regardless of what tone this movie takes, from a technical perspective, it does have a lot of elements that work today with major blockbusters. For one thing, when you look at the kids from around the world who are the Planeteers, they're all from different, not only are they diverse in terms of their racial and ethnic makeup, they're from different countries. So right there, we've got diversity, representation, that's big these days, that gets people of different, races into the theaters, and they're from different countries, which might help in the international box office. And one of them, Guy, the girl who has the water ring, she is Asian, and I'll bet you, if they make her Chinese, they might think, oh yeah, we can get, the China market like that. A lot of these decisions are business decisions. It's not people just trying to do things to be out of the goodness of their heart. It's so they can make money off of them. And also, it has a pretty almost 50-50 split in genders, Female representation is pretty big in blockbusters these days to get women into the theaters. And, 2 out of the 5 Planeteers are women. And, the leader who gets them all together, Gaia, the spirit of the earth, she is a woman. And then that's 3 women, then there's 3 men. They're the other 3 male Planeteers, and then there's Captain Planet himself, who is a man. And so right there, we have a pretty good representation of men versus women, which will ideally get large numbers of both men and women into the theater. And this would be a sci-fi action property because Captain Planet and the Planeteers have all these cool, magical superpowers. So, that already has an element that makes this, a sci-fi blockbuster that's different from like a movie with, regular cops and people, a more smaller scale movie. That means, a larger budget, more special effects. Combined with all the other elements I mentioned, this could be a great blockbuster if the script and stuff is right. Now, I know there's criticism, and pushback against diversity and female representation and stuff these days. People feel it's forced and agenda driven. But I think that as long as a movie is good, with a good plot and it's well written and directed, those criticisms will fall away and people will accept and embrace the movie in front of them. So I do think that Captain Planet and the Planeteers could actually be a really good movie. And I might be biased because I liked the cartoon when I was a little boy. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel because I appreciate your viewership, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.